Are there any warnings or anything before that or no?
At 1 minute.
Can we do it at 6 minutes? So we're
1 minute left.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. We're from Chelsea High School, and these are our financial recommendations for the Bradley family. So looking at their income for the household, they're definitely a middle-class family. They are above the median household income for the state of Michigan and the United States. They also have less credit card debt than the average family in Michigan, but they are by no means wealthy. They are doing well for themselves. Looking at their monthly expenses, based on this is what they're currently paying, and these are our recommendations. And if you look at those total numbers, those aren't huge changes based on what they're doing now and what we want them to do. But we have them change. We're moving a lot of money around so that they're investing a lot more in their future. Definitely more things like retirement and student loans that we'll talk about, or student loan payments that we'll talk about later. But so that's why those numbers aren't necessarily different, even if we did make some changes. Drew's going to talk about some short-term decisions in income.
So these are the results of our major recommendations for the family. I'm going to touch on a few of them now, and then we'll hit the rest of them later. First off, we recommend they sell the rental property he owns with his brother. That'll give them about $67,000 after the mortgage, and splitting that with his brother will give them over $33,000. We would also recommend creating an emergency fund, a rainy day in case anything bad were to happen. And we recommend that they go up north instead of visiting Disney World this summer. We know they already put a $500 deposit down, but that is a sunk cost and they can't get that back. We estimate a 7-day vacation up north with a cottage rental would be about $800. And all of these decisions will leave them with about $26,000 on hand cash. And we're going to talk about what we recommend to do with that in a few slides.
All right, thank you, Drew. Now Brianna's going to talk about debt and mortgage.
So we're taking an avalanche approach to the debt. We're going to cover every debt they have with the highest interest rates first. So we look at their credit cards. They have 2 credit cards. We recommend we're going to take the bonus and the money we get from selling the rental, cover all of the mortgage or all of the balances we have on the credit cards, and then immediately cut them up. They have a very high APR, and they are not receiving any cash back, and there's an annual fee. So instead, if they still want a credit card, we recommend a Chase Freedom card with no annual fee and a lower APR. As for the student loans, we will also pay that off immediately, so we have no monthly payment on that. With the cars, Sean did just buy a truck, but he has a monthly payment and is paying a lot of interest on that. We're going to have him buy the truck and then sell it because it's just very expensive, and instead he can get a comparable used car that is much more cost effective. Heidi is on a lease. We're going to have her finish that up, and once she's done with that, we can buy her also a used car. For the mortgage, they still owe a lot, but we're going to have them refinance. Yes, this is going to make their monthly costs go down a little bit, and they will have the house paid off much quicker. But the most significant impact this is going to have is really saving $19,000 in total interest.
All right, thank you, Brianna. So talking about their college savings, currently they have those 529 plans through the Michigan 529, and I know they were considering opening a UTMA account. We're curious about that. We're actually recommending that they roll over to the Pennsylvania 529. So that's going to give them benefits even though they're out of state. It's going to give them tax deductions up to $28,000 of their income versus the $10,000 that they're getting in Michigan. So that's going to benefit them down the road when they have more money in those accounts. We also are recommending that they don't use a UTMA account, even though they were looking into it. They're not going to get the same tax benefits with that as with the Pennsylvania 529. All right, thank you. Now Drew's going to talk more about some short-term savings.
So heading back to that over $26,000 they had from before with their short-term decisions, we recommend they would invest that in a mutual fund for 30 years. And at a 7% rate of return, that is over $340,000 in 30 years, with an additional $200 monthly contribution, which they can make, and we factor that into the budget. Continuing on to retirement, we would recommend both Heidi and Sean contribute 5% of their total incomes. Currently, Heidi is leaving $1,300 on the table by not meeting that employer match, and we definitely don't want that. We recommend that they both diversify, so about 85% index funds, the rest in growth stocks, bonds, and cash. And as they get closer to that retirement age, we recommend they move away from the index funds and towards the bonds and cash. At the age of retirement, 58, they'll be able to retire on time with $1.5 million, which is 11.6 times their current annual income.
Thank you, Drew. All right, Carly's going to talk about insurance now.
So as far as life insurance goes, we highly recommend that Sean terminates his whole life policy, as a 20-year term life policy will be much more cost effective. We actually found him a quote for about $26 a month for a $500,000 policy. As well as Sean, we would like Heidi to also change to a 20-year term life policy, and that will only cost her about $22 a month. With both of these policies, the kids will be very well off in the event of one of the parents' deaths, and they will be able to cover the mortgage and college expenses. As far as health insurance, we like Heidi's health insurance policy, but we do recommend contributing $200 a month to a health savings account in order to cover any emergency medical costs in retirement before the couple can get Medicare. And we do like that Heidi has disability insurance, and we would recommend that Sean should also get disability insurance, which would cost about $60 a month. As far as auto insurance goes, we recommend that they raise their deductibles, which would lower their monthly premiums and save them money to month. They could save about $210 month to month on premiums, and when they buy a used car, they would have the possibility of getting rid of their comprehensive coverage. They will need to keep in mind, though, that as their kids reach driving age, they will need to lower their deductibles again.
All right, thank you. So, talking about the taxes, they're getting $1,800 back from the federal government now. That's below the average for the state of Michigan, which is right now about $2,500. But we're not going to recommend that they change their withholdings at all. First off, they need to pay those state taxes, because obviously that's a felony, so we don't want them to go to jail for that. And then beyond that, that money's going straight into the 529 accounts for the future of their kids going to that four-year college, which we know is a goal of theirs.
So in summary, with all of our recommendations, we're leaving the Bradley family off very well. They have over $1.5 million waiting for them in retirement. We've saved them $19,000 in mortgage interest, plus countless thousands more by paying off the credit cards early. And they are now a zero-debt family, excluding that mortgage, which lifts a tremendous weight off their shoulders. And also, we did set a little bit of money aside for Alyssa to do her travel softball program last year. And so we have met all their financial goals, and they will live a very comfortable, debt-free life.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Just one question for you. What were some of the calculations, the things that you calculated in the recommendations? So, for example, was there something you changed based on a calculation that you made in your recommendations?
Sure. So for the retirement, let me get there. So we looked up the current percentages of the funds of fidelity they were getting, and for Heidi's it was 6%, and then for Sean's it was only 4%. So doing some calculations, we looked at some other funds they could invest in, and we saw the S&P 500 at like a 30-year average of about 7.5%. So we took that, changed it to 7%, upping those to 5%. So those are the retirement main calculations we changed.
And I apologize if you covered this, but when you cash out Sean's life insurance policy, there is some money coming back. Did you incorporate that? Where was that number at?
Yeah, so that number was put in, sorry, let me go back here.
That's okay.
Whoop,
Oh,
we
there
go.
it is, the cash
Yeah,
number.
so that would
Okay.
be right
That's
here
part
at
of
the
your
cash
26.
number.
Okay.
And that's part of the 26,000 on hand.
Okay.
When you came up with the emergency fund number, 2,500, where'd you come up with that number?
So we're looking at, obviously we want to have more money in that account. They need to have, it's recommended, I believe, that it's 4 to 6 months worth of expenses in that emergency fund. But right now, like, they have nothing, they have no emergency fund whatsoever. So we wanted to get as much money as we could while still accounting for the other expenses like the vacation, like the softball team. We wanted to get enough money for at least 1 month of expenses into that account.
Okay, so that's like a one-time payment off of their cells and then incorporate in their budget after that?
So they're going to be putting more money into that in the future, definitely, but right now, that's the money that they have that we budgeted for that can go in.
Did you guys look at the beneficiaries on the life insurance policies?
We did notice that Sean's daughter was a beneficiary on his whole life policy, but we thought it would be more beneficial to switch to a 20-year term life policy in the long run.
Okay, and then who would be the beneficiary? Who do you recommend they put on that?
We would recommend the children again.
Okay.
You might have covered this. Did you recommend that they get actual insurance policies on the children?
No, we don't recommend life insurance policies on the children since they have no dependents.
Any other questions?